I'd like to shift gears and bring my colleague Christine Gumpert onto the screen, and she's going to kick off the bulk of today's webinar, which is using AI tools for personalized learning.
Thank you very much, Sam, and good afternoon to everybody. Again, my name is Christine Gumpert, and my current role is as an instructional coach at Garnet Valley School District, so that's how I know Sam. And I was a high school or classroom teacher for about 15 years in the world of social studies, and then about 5 years ago, right before the pandemic, moved into a tech coach role, which was an interesting phase of life when everyone had to be forced to use technology at the same time. But now the role has shifted a bit. That's one of the silver linings of the pandemic, is that a lot of our late adopters of technology were forced to adopt it. So the technology piece has taken a little bit of a backseat, more instructional design, but with the advent of AI, the technology is back up at the forefront. So it's a really exciting time in my role. I'm also involved with innovative learning as an instructional coach and doing things like these webinars, which is a great opportunity to see beyond our school district here and really across the whole country. My educational background, I received both my undergraduate and graduate degrees from Villanova University, which is right outside of Philadelphia. I still, even though I'm not technically working with students every day, I like to keep my hand in with them there. And so I'm the Model UN advisor for our high school. So we take the kids all over the place and let them do their debates. It's such a exciting thing to see kids who are interested in international politics at a young age. And then also to still not quite out there yet, but coming, I'm working with Sam and another colleague, and we are working on a book that kind of shows our journey with AI adoption in our school district. So that book, Navigating the AI Revolution in Our Schools, is hopefully going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So that's a little bit about me. But when we are thinking about personalized learning, because again, that is our focus for today, I think this slide is important because without AI, it's a challenge. If you think about historically, and probably a lot of the classrooms that we attended when we were children, there would be one lesson, 20, 30 kids in a classroom, and that one lesson was hopefully going to get the job done for everybody. One book, one textbook, and just hope for the best. But that's really changed over the last couple of decades. And the expectation now and the hope for our teachers and what they want to do is really to meet each individual student where they are. In particular with students in our special education population or students that have a 504, it's a legal obligation to meet them where they are. And for the first time, AI is really going to be able to help us make that happen. So some of the tools that we're going to highlight today take what would have been used to a very challenging job for a teacher. For instance, let's say you have 3 or 4 different reading levels in one classroom in front of you. That now is something that teachers are able to do because they can use a tool like Diffit that will show you. They can take a reading, one particular topic, and adjust all of those levels. So this here is one of the lists that we like to show off because our teachers at our district have done such a great job in really maximizing AI from the get-go. So they are doing things like using it for lesson planning, for using it as editors for work, encouraging our students to use it for that type of work as well. But the ones I want to highlight today with our lens of personalized learning, for instance, the lesson planner one, teachers are learning to write prompts into their AI bot for a lesson for a particular subject, but then they're doing a subset of that where they're able to put in the specifications for certain students in their class to make sure that they're getting alternate activities and alternate resources. And of course, they're not putting any personal information about the students in there. They're not putting in there, but they are able to create these generic prompts. Every time they put it in, the teachers are getting very differentiated lessons for the students in front of them. Another one I want to highlight is that content creator. And again, we will show this live in a moment, but for teachers that are trying to create materials and a textbook is a little bit of an obsolete way to approach education. And I think Sam's going to talk about that in a little bit, how our district is approached to that. But the teacher is able to take a standard, an enduring understanding, an acquisition skill, et cetera, put it into some of these AI tools and get original content generated back. When our teachers are doing this, they're very well aware of the idea of bias that Sam mentioned, also the concept of hallucinations, which is where the bot just makes up random information. So they know they need to read and vet the content that the AI is generating. But in most instances, the teachers have been pretty impressed with what the bot is creating, and the teachers are then able to take that and turn it around and use that with their students. Another one is the resource modifier. And again, I'll show you a tool in a moment called Diffit, where we're able to take either a reading or a YouTube video, et cetera, and come up with content and come up with ancillary materials that are catered to different levels. And then finally, and this is one that we definitely want to talk about today, is the feedback generator. This idea of timely and specific feedback is so valuable to our students on their learning journey, particularly as they're developing their writing skills. Again, in the limited hours in a day, one of the best things we can do is assign writing to our students, but to be overcome with that mountain of grading, it makes it challenging. So there are some AI tools that can alleviate that workload for us. So as Sam mentioned a little bit earlier, the top 10 challenges for instructors, we took that list and pulled out the ones that we thought were most connected to the concept of personalized learning. So again, the providing timely feedback to students, adjusting content level to student needs, the cost of instruction materials for students, developing original content course material, and also identifying high quality materials. We do feel that these all connect to this idea of personalized learning. So we're going to take each one of these and show you a tool or give you a little bit more information on that. So I'm going to kick us off here and I'm going to share my screen out. So hopefully you'll be able to see it. And the first tool that I'm going to talk about is Brisk. So Brisk, this is the website. It's briskteaching.com if you're interested in taking a look at it. It is a Chrome extension and you're able to add that on to your browser and you can open it up whenever you are working on providing feedback to students. There are a plethora of toys or tools that Brisk provides. But the one that we're going to focus in today is the feedback one. So what I have here is a copy of a document, and I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. And this is focusing on the Boston Tea Party, a revolutionary act. So if you want to think about this might be a writing assignment that a student has submitted. And we can go through here, we can see it is a short assignment, again, focusing on the student writing. And this icon down here is my Brisk add-on. It's also up in my toolbar at the top as well. But when I click on this tool, it gives me a couple different options. And the one today that I want to focus on is this box called Giving Feedback. And there are a couple different feedback styles that Brisk provides. One is targeted. It does say the recommended. Google Doc comments aligned to your rubric and standards. The glow and grow is another option, and this would be great if students are turning in projects prior to an actual final deadline. So areas of strength and growth and probing questions that maybe they turn those in and you give them feedback on a rough draft that they can then turn around. There is a possibility of uploading a rubric if you want to, specific to your course, and then also next steps, maybe potentially writing and things like that the student needs to work on. But just to show you this in action, I'm going to go ahead and click on targeted. I want their feedback in English for our demo today. I could select standards, I could upload a rubric, I can make a grade level specific, etc. But just I'm going to give you a general overview right now. So when I click Brisket, it is going to, AI is currently reading the document, as you can see, and it is going to add in different comments as it goes along. And that's interesting that it went slightly out of order, but that's okay. We'll let it do its thing. And what it's doing as it's reading is it is, again, creating these comments. And none of them are actually published to the student. So that is one thing, because some of our teachers are comfortable using tools like this. Other teachers are not comfortable with AI generated feedback. The one recommendation for our teachers that are not necessarily comfortable with the AI doing the grading for them, which of course we don't recommend that, but the teacher has the opportunity to read each of these comments and decide if that's something that they want to share with the student or not. For instance, if I come up to the top here and I click on the sentence, I see here the comment that Brisk has made on that particular topic. I can read it, I can change it. If it's something that I feel like the student would benefit from and it aligns with my vision for the assignment, I can click comment. Now that is stored and the student will have access to it. If I click on this one here and I decide that's not something that I want to go after or focus on, I can click cancel and that goes away. So again, it's a great chance for teachers to get an assistance with their grading and decide whether or not if they want to use those particular options. The next tool that I want to show off for you here is called DIFIT. And I'm going to go back to my home page here. Diffit it has a free version. There's also a paid version, but the free version has a lot of great opportunities as well. And this is when we're thinking about how to get those just right materials, as it says there, for our students. And so their topics are using here. You can search literally anything. We could come over to the middle and we could put in a specific article or video URL to have content created. Or I can come over here and I could bring in text and excerpt. I can upload a PDF file, etc. But if I wanted to come over here and put in literally anything, I might put in here rise of the WNBA. Of course, the draft was like last night. It's pretty exciting stuff going on. I can put in this general topic. If I come over here, I can select the grade level. So I'll go 11th grade plus. You can also select a language. So if you have students that speak different languages from you, it's a great way to adapt the materials from English to whatever language they might need. And when I go ahead here and click generate resource, it is a little bar will load here as it goes through the process. Usually just takes a couple of seconds. And I want to show you the output and all the additional materials that Diffit will create for the teacher. And as I said, I put in here 11th grade plus, but let's say I have students that might be reading at a lower grade level. I can regenerate this same topic at a different grade level. So once I create one, I can make multiple versions, and then that way I can hand them out to my students and get the right level to the right student without causing too much distraction or without drawing attention to the students that might need a little additional support. So, oh, there she is, Caitlin Clark, first pick last night. But anyway, you can choose different images here if you want to, or you could have no image at all, because eventually you will be able to print these out or create a PDF, upload them into your LMS. This is the adapted reading. So this one is quite short. I can change the length if I want it longer. I can show sources, which will tell me where this content was coming from. It will give me a brief summary of the main points of the article if I want that. It will provide vocabulary if necessary. And all of these things, as the instructor, I can choose to include or not include. There will be a couple multiple choice questions or short answer questions, open-ended prompts if I want them. And then I can also move along and get export to Microsoft or to Word and be able to get additional student activities. Lots of graphic organizers and things like that are good for particular our K to 12 population. Sam, I'm going to pass it back over to you for a little more information about some
Yeah,
of our other
so
options.
Christine just gave a pretty good demo of the ability to produce really quickly a number of resources for students. So one of the survey data from higher ed was the cost of instructional materials. And as a student, as an instructor myself, I know that this is a barrier to learning for a lot of kids, and also a barrier for quality instruction for a lot of teachers. The cost of textbooks and supplementary resources has just gone through the roof over the last couple decades, which has caused us and many school districts like ours to move to OER, open education resources. And we call it the 3 C's of OER. It's a process we use here at Garnet Valley, and we certainly share that outside of our district as well. The 3 C's are collect, curate, and create. The collect phase is really just getting all of the instructors, all of the teachers who teach that same content area or grade level into the same room at the same time to talk about the resources that they have and they're using with kids. Believe it or not, this may not shock the people here, but people outside of education would be shocked to learn that rarely happens in education, because you're busy teaching and you have 5 or 6 different periods of a day, or if you're an elementary teacher, you're constantly cycling through different content areas with the same students. You rarely have an opportunity, maybe outside a professional development day once or twice a year, to really get with colleagues and look at the resources that you're using. So the collect phase for us was a really important step in the OER process. Not only did it get teachers together to look at the resources, it helped identify gaps in their curriculum where they didn't have open education resources to use. And that led us to the second C, which is curate. And here we have teachers and we help train them to go and find OER resources, either through OER repositories or places like YouTube or Khan Academy or other online free and accessible areas that you can pull resources from. And again, fill in the gaps of the curriculum, fill in those gaps of where those resources are needed, That brings us to the last phase, the create phase. And this phase was designed to fill in every last one of those gaps so a teacher could theoretically start the school year with 100% of their course materials being OER. And once they're OER, there's a lot of benefits to doing that. You can change the language and things very easily. You can change the text size and the fonts and all kinds of things. The problem with this process for us is the third phase, create, was probably one of the most difficult for our teachers to do, because on top of trying to create resources, and I say resources, it could be activities, it could be interactive activities using technology, it could be formative assessments, summative assessments, it could be instructional videos, it could be textbook material. Creating those resources on top of their teaching load, it was ridiculously expensive. Sorry, ridiculously time consuming. And when you're factoring in time, we're paying teachers to do this, it became expensive. So the 3 C's of OER in theory was working really well for us, except for that last phase until AI. Because as you just saw, a simple example that Christine gave using one AI tool in Diffit was it can now take our curriculum, we can upload it, standards or actual curriculum documents, and have the AI generate those resources that the teacher then can adapt and personalize to their students in a matter of minutes, really, where before it would take us upwards of weeks and months to do something similar. And the quality we're getting is very high as well. On top of the cost for materials, what we also noticed is the human cost of school, right? And not just higher ed. We know the prices in higher ed, the cost of tuition has skyrocketed, but the cost of public education, K-12, has skyrocketed as well. So what do schools do, whether you're institution of higher education or you're K-12, the first place you tend to cut expenses is in people. Maybe not teachers, maybe, but maybe not, but certainly support. So maybe paraprofessionals, maybe at the college level, teaching assistants, maybe tutors, maybe certain programs. So we started to see that not only the cost for materials was going up, but the human cost was going up. And I believe AI can help us here as well, not to take jobs, but to replace the jobs that people used to do with students. At least in my experience, AI can certainly take that to a different level. So one of the tools that I wanted to showcase today, and I'll do it pretty quickly, is called MindJoy. And if you use the QR code on your screen, or if you go ahead and type in the URL at the bottom there, it's a class join code. When you go to the class, it's going to ask you to set up a free account. If you're comfortable doing that, go ahead and do it. You don't have to. I can demo this. But it's a really interesting concept to adding a teaching assistant to every single classroom. Now, full transparency, MindJoy is a paid subscription. We do not have this at Garnet Valley. It is quite expensive. It's about $500, but I'm hoping this comes down in price. There's also other free alternatives, maybe not as slick, that do the same quality of tutoring, which I'll show you in a second, but still do something very similar. So I want to go to and I'm going to sign in as a demo student, just so you can see what it looks like on the student side. So I set this up as a physics class that I teach. I know nothing about physics. I can't teach it. But imagine if I did know a little bit about physics and I had students in my class who needed a tutor, and I have upwards of 100 students that are on my caseload. It's really difficult for me to personalize the learning for every single one of them. If I had a teaching assistant, I certainly would have an easier time doing that. MindJoy becomes that teaching assistant for me. So I can embed this into my LMS, for example. I can share the link like I did with you. And this is Albert Einstein. I can change the image. I can change the back end of this. I just kept it generic. When you see some prompts there, and tell me a little bit more about the theory of relativity, I'm just going to click on that. It's going to give me that information. Now, there's some settings behind the scenes that allow instructors to upload their own content and also how they'd like the chat to respond. This is just giving the information, but there's a setting in there where it wouldn't necessarily give you information without having a few back and forth questions with the student. And I can say something like, I still don't understand. Please tell me another way. And again, you can imagine this for kids, students, higher ed or K-12. They're home, the teachers at home as well. They're not able to jump on a Zoom, answer a quick question. Parent may not have the ability to support the child in their learning. Having a system like this where the student can interact with the AI, to me would be really be a game changer for the way teachers can leverage AI to support students. Now, one of the things I really like about Mindjoy, which I'm hoping the price does come down, is the instructor side of this, right? Is right now I'm signed in as the instructor. I can set up my own classrooms. I can add different tutors. So if I go to classroom and I click, I have two students right now. I have Christine who's in there, and then I use my son as the guinea pig. If I can see what they're doing. So real quick before I do that, I wanted to show you, I'll do this first. So I can see what the sentiment, and then there's tutorials on what these things mean, the learning, the engagement level, things like that. But if I click on Nicholas, I can see what his interactions and questions were. To me, as an instructor, this is really powerful to be able to see the questions the students are asking the AI chatbot in this case. So I can then adjust my instruction to meet the needs of students there. I'm going to bring Christine back. We have one more tool, I think, Christine, to show you related to research and things like that. And then we're going to finish up with some Q&A, and then we'll set the stage for Thursday.
Of some of the top things that are connected to personalized learning, one of those was creating or finding high quality materials. And as I mentioned before, when we're talking about AI, we always want to make sure that we're vetting the output because there are sometimes concerns of bias and hallucination. But to be honest, as they progress and become more powerful, the quality of the output is improving drastically. So this bot is called Perplexity. This is one that we use with our students a lot because the terms of use are for 13 and older. Some of the other ones, like a Google Gemini, for instance, is 18 and up. So this one is one we can use in our high school. And so just like other bots you may have played around with, you can type in a prompt. So I put, what are the top 5 places to see in Philadelphia? So I'm going to go ahead and click on this to have it start generating information. And a couple of reasons why I really love this bot. One, I love the fact that it gives its images. And so you can click on these, you can see them. If students are doing a project, maybe on Philadelphia, they could take some of those images and use it in their slides or whatever they're creating. You can also have videos. So these here, video, Philadelphia travel guide, Philadelphia attractions, these are all curated from the web. There also is also the opportunity to generate images if you have the pro. I found the free version of Perplexity to be more than enough. So the answers here that it's giving me are Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell, Reading Terminal Market, living right outside of Philadelphia. I would say these are right on point. It's funny because the top 5 they gave me today are different than the top 5 they gave me yesterday, but that's okay. The other reason that we really love this opportunity or this bot and why we have it connected to high quality information is because it does cite its sources, which is not necessarily the case with some of the other top bots out there. So again, you would have to vet these, as we always tell our students. Just because a website's up doesn't mean it's credible. Viator would be one that I'm familiar with. Reddit, I might want to look at that information a little bit more closely, but it's a great way, and it does provide as well opportunities to dive deeper. I can ask a follow-up question. I can use one of their suggested prompts. The other thing that we really like about Perplexity, and this is where we come in with our student use, is if a student is using a bot to go back and forth to supplement and help out with an assignment, our teachers are asking our students to submit their threads so the teacher can see the interactions the students are having with the bot. And what we're able to do here is come up on the side to share. And when I click on share, I can get a shareable link that the teacher will be able to view. They aren't not able to view my whole history in Perplexity, but they are able to view this particular thread. So I can grab that shareable link, I can copy it, and I can submit it with my project, almost like a new version of a works cited or a bibliography. We're having our students also submit a list of threads when they've used AI to support their learning.
So we're just about out of time. I wanted to at least try to build in a little bit of Q&A. So I think right now, if we can just pause and reflect a little bit. I'm curious to know the group here today, and we have a pretty good turnout. What are you seeing in your work? What are some of the benefits and challenges? I'm hoping we have a pretty wide assortment of higher ed and K-12, but if not, that's okay. I'm just curious on what are the challenges or benefits that you're seeing in your work, and then how are you leveraging AI to personalize your instruction whether it's similar to what Christine and I talked about today, or maybe there's a different way that you could share. I'd be interested. If you want to come onto the screen, we can move you to a participant. If not, you can just type into the chat, would be certainly fine. So I'm going to read one from the chat earlier. Joanne said, another challenge is no access to resources behind a paywall. Yeah, that is absolutely true. It's super frustrating as well. A lot of these AI tools, when they first came out, were free for everybody because we were helping train their models to an extent. And then they put the helpful tools behind the paywall. And for those cases, you really have two options, right? You either find a new tool, or if you're already committed to that one, you have to pay the subscription price. I can say this, at Garnet Valley, we try to find as many free tools as possible. Diffit, we do have a subscription for them, but I believe their free version is very good. Perplexity, Christine mentioned, is free. We also have a subscription to Magic School AI, primarily for the Magic student side of that, which is very powerful. It allows us to lock down the environment and things like that. Personally, I pay for a pro subscription to ChatGPT. I use that every single day. That will be primarily what we talk about on Thursday for maximizing efficiency. But even the free version there is very powerful. But I find myself going to ChatGPT multiple times a day. And I've gotten to a point now where I kick myself if I don't call on the AI to at least try to make myself a little bit more efficient and effective at what I'm doing. Absolutely, things behind a paywall, frustrating. I get it, but there are a lot of free tools out there, and there's always more coming down the road. The problem with that, obviously, everybody knows, is you don't want to have teachers or yourself moving from one license or one app to a site to a different site to a different site. That gets frustrating. Barbara mentioned just getting started. Awesome. Glad you were able to join us, Barbara. Hopefully you found some value in today's workshop. We'll be back on Thursday again, talking about the efficiency side. If you're just getting started, I think that would be a good opportunity just to see how we use it to help ourselves in the work that we do every single day. Again, it could save us 10 minutes. It could save us 10 hours. We find that it's that wide of a breadth. I had an administrator, a colleague last night, say they were just getting started and they felt like they were so far behind. You know, what I told my school board and when I talk to teachers, like when I look at AI, we're in the top of the first inning of a 9-inning game, right? We're just getting started. There might be one out. You may have missed the high pop, but there's plenty to come. So if you're just getting in now, you're not missing much. A lot has changed. It changes quickly. So the quicker, in my opinion, you get into AI and try to learn as much as you can about it, the better off we'll all be down the road. But certainly getting in now, getting in the summer, getting in next year is not going to prevent anyone from being where they need to be with this.
Sam, there's a great question in the Q&A that I'd like to address. The question is in reference to students learning to use the generative AI and the concern that once the students know about them, they're going to be using them improperly. And this is something that we have really tried to take head on. And we do use AI with our students, predominantly right now that in our grades 9 to 12, we encourage them to use the AI. But before we get in there and have them actually try it out, we're doing AI ethics chats. So we are talking about various scenarios where proper use, improper use. We've got a whole barrage of different scenarios the students have to read and then vote. How much was this bot? How much was this human? And it's really also opening up a lot of great conversations between the teachers and the students. And as Sam mentioned at the beginning of this, in reference to the whole elephant in the room and cheating, our teachers go back 5 years, they would say no plagiarism, and just assuming that the students understood what plagiarism meant. We do have the Turnitin device that will pick up plagiarism. So the students were aware of it in that regard. But this takes a much more nuanced and detailed conversation to have with the kids of, is it okay to use it to brainstorm ideas? Then fine, tell the kids it's okay to do that. Is it okay to help you generate a rough draft? Some teachers are comfortable with that, some teachers are not. Is it okay to take your final draft and run it through an AI tool to help you edit and clean that up? You might do with a Grammarly. So there's lots of different ways that it can be used. So we try to have those conversations with the students before they even get started. We also do have access to the AI detectors. Turnitin, as I mentioned, has one, but they really are not reliable. And even the developers of those detectors claim that they have a high false positivity rate. So if a student's report does come back with a high AI use, then the teachers are not giving out zeros with that, but what they're doing is using it as a conversation starter with the student. It's also another reason why we have the students turning in their threads. The teacher can see the use that the students were using with AI, and they can actually read the conversations between the student and the bot to see really who's doing the thinking there. Is it the student or is it the computer?
That's a great point, Christine. Doug, I'm going to bring you in to send this off. Before I do that, though, I just want to thank everyone for, again, giving up your hour, whether it's lunch or another time during the day. I know everybody's super busy, especially if you're in education. This time of year is always busy. Hopefully you found some value in this work. One of the challenges for Christine and I is we present this information in such a fast, concise way. We leave out all the work behind the scenes that goes into training teachers and working with classrooms of students and doing those conversations around what does cheating look like and things like that. Then when we present a tool and we say kids are doing this and they're sharing a link, there's probably 100 questions that go along with that. What if a kid does this? What if a kid does this? We try to be proactive and we try to have those conversations before we even allow students to access this work. And credit to Christine, our instructional coaches here at Garnet Valley, and the ones that work through Innovative, working with other teachers outside of Garnet Valley, and all the other school districts who are on top of this as well. The work that we're doing now, if nothing else comes of AI, those conversations around cheating, around plagiarism, around ethics, around academic integrity, collaboration, they're invaluable, in my opinion. If nothing comes of AI, which I think we all just don't agree with, but those conversations are certainly useful. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. To stay up to date about future Ed Talks and other presentations and workshops, be sure to follow us on social media. Links are in the description. To be part of future Ed Talks, please consider joining our PLC. It's as easy as visiting edvative.com and signing up for our weekly newsletter. From there, you'll have access to our educator community that shares best practices, brainstorms solutions to common challenges, and is passionate about building upon each other's ideas. You'll also have numerous opportunities for professional growth. From webinars to workshops to networking events, we'll keep you abreast of all the latest trends and give you the skills to implement them effectively. Again, thank you for watching, and remember, the hardest part about change isn't adopting a new mindset, it's letting go of the old one.